A tearing, excruciating pain came from my belly. No, don't. I desperately clutched the sweat-soaked quilt beneath me, my fingernails almost digging into the fabric. My lady, push, just a little more effort. We can almost see the baby's head. The midwife's anxious voice rang in my ear, but I had no strength left. I could feel my life slipping away bit by bit with the fresh blood continuously gushing from below me. A cold, bone-chilling cold spread from all my limbs. Where is the general? Where is the general? My personal maid, Chu-Yue, knelt by the bed crying, her voice full of despair. My lady, the general, he has left the residence. Where did he go? My heart sank bit by bit. I had already guessed the answer. Miss Bai sent someone to say she has a pain in her chest. So the general took the residence's physician and went to the Bai residence. Bai Lingyan, the white moonlight of Gu Huaijin's heart, the person he could never let go of in his life. So that is how it is. In his heart, our child was actually so insignificant. Please make sure you are in a comfortable position. The main story is about to start. Reply in the comments and tell us what city you are all reading our story from. My consciousness began to blur. The pain in my body gradually faded away, replaced by a bone-chilling cold. Suddenly, the door was violently thrown open. A figure rushed in, bringing with him the wind, snow, and a chill. Chu Qing. That voice was filled with anguish, a despair I had never heard before. I struggled to open my eyes and saw the person who came. It wasn't Gu Huaijin. It was His Highness, the Crown Prince, Xiao Jingyuan. That Crown Prince, rumored to be cold, heartless, and ruthless, was at this moment like a helpless child, his eyes rimmed with red, cautiously embracing my ice-cold body in his arms. His embrace was very warm, the only warmth at the end of my life. Imperial Physician. Where is the Imperial Physician? He held me and roared at those outside, his voice trembling. Your Highness, it is too late, I said softly, in a nearly inaudible voice. Xiao Jingyuan's body stiffened. He looked down at me. Large teardrops rolled down his handsome cheeks, landing on my face, scalding hot. Don't be afraid, Chu Qing. I'll take you away, he murmured. As if to me, and also as if making a promise to himself. I'll take you away from here, and no one will ever be able to hurt you again. I pulled at the corners of my mouth, wanting to give him a smile, to thank him for this final warmth, but I didn't even have that much strength left. Under Xiao Jingyuan's grief-stricken gaze, I slowly closed my eyes. Miss, wake up. I snapped my eyes open, the harsh light making me instinctively narrow my eyes. I am not dead. Miss, you are finally awake. The maid, Chu-Yue, rushed to the bedside, crying with joy. You scared this servant to death. I stared at her in a daze, then looked at myself. My lower abdomen was flat, and I didn't have that tearing pain either. Now when is it? I asked hoarsely. Replying to you, miss. It is the autumnal equinox of the 23rd year of Yonging. Chu-Yue helped me sit up, handing me water as she said, Miss, have you forgotten? An imperial edict came from the palace today. His Majesty has decreed a marriage for you and General Go. You got so excited. You fainted. The 23rd year of Yonging, autumnal equinox, a decreed marriage. I was thunderstruck, my whole body frozen stiff. I am back. I've actually returned to 3 years ago, before all the tragedies began. I haven't married Gu Huaijin. Haven't gone through that hopeless childbirth. Haven't died in that cold pool of blood. Miss, what is wrong? You look so pale. Chu-Yue looked at me worriedly. I took a deep breath, suppressed the crimson in my eyes, and gave her my first smile since my rebirth. Chu-Yue, help me up. I want to see father. This life-threatening marriage, whoever wants it can have it. I, Chu Qing, will not marry. Number Chapter 2. Rejecting the marriage in the hall. My father, the Imperial Censor-in-Chief Chu Qing, is in the front hall right now, receiving the eunuch sent to deliver an imperial edict. Chu Qing, what are you doing here? If you are unwell, go back to your room and rest. Do not be disrespectful. Father frowned and scolded. I ignored him, and instead walked straight to the decree announcing eunuch, curtsied. My voice wasn't loud, but every word was clear. I'll trouble you, eunuch, to report back to His Majesty. I, your servant Chu Qing, am lacking in virtue and unworthy of being the matriarch of the general's manor, and fear I would disgrace the royal family's honor. This marriage, I cannot accept. As my voice fell, the entire hall was deathly silent. Everyone looked at me as if I were a madwoman. Father's face instantly turned the color of a pig's liver, and he pointed at me, too angry to speak. You rebellious daughter." Eunuch Li, who had delivered the edict, also had a troubled look on his face. "Miss Chu, this is a marriage personally bestowed by His Majesty, a heavenly grace. How can you simply refuse it? It is precisely because it is a vast and mighty grace." I lowered my eyes, my voice laced with just the right amount of fragility. "That I, your servant, know my own fortune is meager, and I am afraid I cannot bear such profound favor. Last night, I caught a bit of a chill, and in my dream, a divine being actually appeared with a warning, saying that my birth chart clashes with the general's. If we are forced to marry, I fear it will be detrimental to the general." Eunuch Li's expression changed. The bestowed marriage was for the sake of winning over a military general and stabilizing the court. If this marriage not only couldn't bring benefits, but would instead jinx a general with illustrious military achievements to death, then it would completely lose its meaning. "This Miss Chu, this matter is of great importance. I cannot make the decision. I must return to the palace and report to His Majesty." "I'll trouble you, eunuch." I bowed again. Father was trembling all over with anger. The moment Eunuch Li left, he raised his hand to slap me. I didn't dodge, just looked at him coldly. "Father, are you sure you want to hit me? Your daughter has just refused the marriage bestowed by His Majesty. With this slap, are you trying to let everyone in the capital know that our censorate manor has a mad daughter who defies imperial decrees? Or are you trying to make His Majesty think that you are also dissatisfied with this marriage?" His hand froze in midair. I looked at his ashen face. My heart was ice cold in my past life. He was also like this, for the so-called family honor. For his status in the imperial court, he pushed me into a fiery pit without hesitation. In this life, I won't be pushed around by others anymore. Number Chapter 3. The general pays a visit. The news of the marriage refusal, as if it had grown wings, spread throughout the entire capital city within half a day. Gu Huaijin soon showed up at the door. At that time, I was in the courtyard, personally trimming a pot of autumn chrysanthemums that were in full bloom. He was wearing a black battle robe, his figure tall and straight, as handsome as ever. But now, as I look at him, I only feel a sickening chill in my heart. "Chu Qing, what the hell are you fussing about?" The moment he spoke, his tone was accusatory, carrying an inborn arrogance. I didn't even raise my head, concentrating on snipping off a dead leaf. "General, watch your words. You and I are not yet married. To call me directly by my given name is improper." Gu Huaijin's brow furrowed even more tightly. "Stop pretending. To marry me, how much effort have you spent? And now you are playing the hard-to-get trick again." I stopped the scissors in my hands, finally looked up at him, my gaze calm and rippleless. "You must be joking, General. Before, I was young and ignorant, mistaking a rock for a beautiful jade. Now that I've woken up, I don't want to mislead others or myself any longer." A rock. Gu Huaijin looked as if he had heard the biggest joke in the world. He took a step forward, closing in on me, looking down at me condescendingly. "Chu Qing, do you have any idea which woman in the entire capital city doesn't want to marry me? Who do you think you are? Who I am isn't important." I met his gaze and said word by word, "What is important is I am not the only one in your heart, General, am I?" I saw his pupils suddenly constrict. "What do you mean?" I gave a light smile, hinting at something. "My request to break off the engagement was also to help you and your beloved be together. General, if you aren't grateful to me, so be it. But why must you speak so maliciously?" Gu Huaijin's expression completely changed. His affair with Bai Lingyin was done extremely secretively, except for his few closest confidants. Outsiders had no way of knowing. How did Chu Qing find out? I watched his shocked and probing gaze with satisfaction. This is just the beginning. "Gu Huaijin, I am going to make you watch with your own eyes how everything you cherish is destroyed by me, bit by bit. What nonsense are you spouting?" He berated sharply, but he couldn't hide the guilty conscience within. The general knows best whether I am talking nonsense or not. I couldn't be bothered to deal with him any longer, so I turned to leave. Please leave, General. A woman like me, who is waiting to be married. Oh no, who is awaiting punishment in her chambers. Really shouldn't be in the company of an outside man for too long. Watching his back as he stood frozen to the spot, a surge of glee welled up in my heart. Just making him unhappy was far from enough. What I want is for him to be utterly disgraced and left with nothing. Chapter 4. Transfer of the engagement. The marriage refusal caused a huge uproar in the palace. His Majesty was furious, summoned Father into the palace, and chewed him out mercilessly. After Father returned, he punished me by making me kneel in the ancestral hall, with no food or drink. I knelt quietly. The stone slab beneath my knees was bone-chillingly cold, yet it was nothing compared to the chill of my heart dying in my past life. I knew His Majesty wouldn't really punish me, just as I expected. Within 2 days, news came from the palace saying I've been frail since childhood, and was feared to be an unsuitable match for the general's manor. So His Majesty, being benevolent and considerate of his subjects, specially granted my request and annulled my engagement with General Gok. As compensation, or one might say, as punishment, His Majesty issued an edict, betrothing my younger half-sister Chu Yunsheng to Gu Huaijin. When the news came, Mother ran into the ancestral hall crying, hugging me and sobbing uncontrollably. My son, why must you put yourself through this? Father, on the other hand, had a grim face, looking at me as if he wanted to eat me alive, exchanging a legitimate daughter with a bright future for an unpresentable concubine-born daughter. The censorate manor has utterly lost all face. Me half-sister Chu Yunsheng, who was always so meek and proper, was both shocked and overjoyed, kneeling before me and crying hypocritically. Sister, I didn't mean to. How could I steal your marriage? How about I go beg Father and His Majesty to retract the decree? Looking at her face, written all over with smugness, I just found it ridiculous. In my past life she had often flaunted how specially Gu Huaijin treated her, and frequently used the matter with Bai Lingyin to provoke me. I helped her up, gently patting her hand. Nonsense, little sister. This is a tremendous blessing. It is your destiny. I am in poor health, afraid I am not blessed enough to accept it. From now on, you'll be the general's wife. You must live a good life with the general. Chu Yunsheng was stunned, seemingly not expecting me to be so agreeable. I gave her a faint smile, a smile that held a deep meaning she couldn't understand. My dear little sister, this overwhelming fortune, you must hold on to it tight. I hope you won't regret today's ecstasy in the future. Chapter 5. The Crown Prince's deep love. Now that the marriage issue is settled, the next step is to pave my own way. In my previous life, I died in Xiao Jingyuan's arms, and the world-destroying sorrow in that man's eyes is something I can never forget in this life. I don't know why he fell so deeply in love with me, but in this life, I don't want to let him down again. More importantly, he is the Crown Prince, the future sovereign. Allying with him is the most important step on my path to revenge. I need an opportunity to coincidentally meet him. The opportunity came soon enough, the Mid-Autumn Palace banquet. As the legitimate daughter of the imperial censor, even after rejecting the marriage, I was still qualified to attend. At the banquet, there was singing, dancing, and a lively exchange of toasts. I spotted Xiao Jingyuan sitting not far away at a glance. He still had that same cold and icy look, sitting there drinking by himself, completely out of place with the lively surroundings. And diagonally across from him, sat Gu Huaijin and his new love, Chu Yunsheng. Chu Yunsheng was beaming with delight, constantly serving Gu Huaijin food, while Gu Huaijin remained expressionless, his gaze occasionally drifting my way, carrying a hint of inquiry and a bit of unwillingness. I just pretended I didn't see. Halfway through the banquet, I excused myself to change my clothes, quietly left my seat, and headed for the imperial garden. I knew Xiao Jingyuan disliked lively occasions, and would soon come out for a breath of air too. Sure enough, just as I came to a stop behind a rockery, I heard footsteps coming from behind me. I pretended to be surprised and turned around, bumping right into him. Your Highness, the Crown Prince. I hurriedly backed away and curtsied. This humble servant girl has been improper. Please forgive me, Your Highness. Xiao Jingyuan steadied me. His palm was wide and warm, just like when he held me in my past life. It is nothing. His voice was deep and magnetic, his gaze falling on my face, carrying a hint of a complex emotion I couldn't understand. "Miss Chu, why are you here?" "You're replying to your highness. It is a bit stuffy inside, so I came out for some air." I lowered my head, my voice soft. "It is I who have disturbed your highness's peace. I was also just taking a stroll." He paused, then suddenly asked, "I heard you rejected the marriage proposal from General Gu. Why is that?" I raised my head to meet his deep eyes, which seemed to hold the stars and the seas. I smiled lightly, and asked in return, "Then I would also like to ask your highness, why have you not yet taken a consort?" Xiao Jingyuan was stunned. Who in the capital didn't know that his highness, the crown prince, was over 20, yet he didn't even have a single concubine in his residence. His Majesty and the Empress Dowager had chosen countless ladies from prestigious families for him, all of whom he rejected one by one. He looked at me for a long time, so long that I thought he wouldn't answer, before he slowly spoke. "Because I already have someone in my heart." My heart suddenly skipped a beat. He continued, "I am waiting for her." "What if she never comes back? Is your highness going to wait forever?" I asked this question, almost holding my breath. Xiao Jingyuan smiled. He usually always has a cold expression, but when he smiles, it is like the first thaw of ice and snow, carrying a kind of heart-stopping beauty. "She will." He stared at me intently, his gaze scorching. "Because this prince knows. She will. It is late, your subject bids farewell for now." I turned around in a panic, almost fleeing in disarray. From behind came his voice, tinged with a smile. "Chu Qing, we will meet again." Chapter 6. The beginnings of a business war after returning to the banquet. My heart was still pounding. Gu Huaijin looked at me coldly, his gaze as if quenched in ice. "Where did you just go?" I couldn't be bothered to deal with him, and walked straight back to my own seat. Instead, it was Chu Yunsheng who spoke with a delicate laugh. "Elder sister, you are finally back. The general was just worried about you." I picked up the teacup, lightly blew on the floating foam, and said faintly, "Oh, the general is now my brother-in-law, being so concerned about me, his former fiancée. Aren't you afraid, little sister, that you'll overthink things?" Chu Yunsheng's face turned pale. Gu Huaijin's expression also darkened. "Chu Qing, watch your words." "What is wrong with my words?" I put down the teacup and looked up at him. "Or are you saying, General, that you think it is only right and proper for you to be concerned about me?" Our conversation wasn't loud, but it wasn't quiet either, and the people at the surrounding few tables heard it all. For a moment, countless ambiguous gazes shifted between the three of us. Chu Yunsheng's face flushed bright red. She was almost about to cry. Gu Huaijin clenched his fists. He had probably never been so provoked before. I just wanted to embarrass him, to make him and his newlywed wife a laughingstock in front of everyone. After the mid-autumn festival banquet, I started on the second step of my plan, making money. With money in hand, my heart is at ease, relying on my status as the legitimate daughter of the censor's manor. There would eventually come a day when I'd use up all my resources. I must have my own businesses, relying on my memories from my past life. I knew there was a piece of wasteland in the capital's suburbs, where nothing would grow due to geological problems. But in another year, the royal family would discover a hot spring on this land and build an imperial villa. This wasteland would instantly become a priceless piece of land. I took out my savings of many years, wheedled some more out of my mother, gathered enough silver, and had someone secretly buy that piece of land. Everyone thought I was crazy, just throwing money away. My father was so angry that he grounded me, not allowing me to go out anymore. I was happy for the leisure. It was the perfect time to stay home and work on my next plan. With Guaijin married to Chu Yunsheng, Bai Lingyin was naturally unreconciled. In my past life, Bai Lingyin was able to defeat me, the official wife, by relying on Gu Huaijin's bottomless favoritism, as well as her pitiful, above-it-all White Lotus facade. But Chu Yunsheng is not me. She lacks nothing in terms of schemes and tricks. When these two fight, it will definitely be a spectacular show. What I am going to do is add fuel to their fire. Chapter 7, The Mastermind Behind the Scenes. I soon found an opportunity. Bai Lingyin's father was just a minor 5th-rank official. The reason she could attend all sorts of high society banquets was because she had a distant older female cousin who was a Karen in the palace. And I just so happened to know that this Karen Bai had a not-so-small secret. She was having a secret affair with one of the palace guards. I wrote an anonymous letter and had it sent to Chu Yunshang. The letter didn't state it explicitly, but only cryptically hinted to her. The reason Bai Lingyin could see the general so often was thanks in no small part to Karen Bai. With Chu Yunshang's intelligence, she would quickly understand what I meant. Sure enough, a few days later, news spread from the palace that Karen Bai had behaved improperly and was demoted to Guanan Feizi, confined to the cold palace. Bai Lingyin lost her biggest backer in the palace. Right after that, Chu Yunshang, in her capacity as the general's wife, hosted a flower-viewing banquet at her residence. She invited many noble ladies from the capital, but specifically excluded Bai Lingyin. This was the legal wife's most direct show of dominance against the mistress. I watched the fire from the other shore, my mood joyous. But this still wasn't enough. I wanted to make Bai Lingyin completely lose Gu Huaijin's protection. I had Qiu investigate the Bai family's businesses. The Bai family had been merchants for generations, and they ran a few silk shops of modest size in the capital. So I opened one splendid brocade pavilion. The shop had many beautiful and unique styles, and it quickly became sought after by the noble ladies of the capital. The Bai family's silk shop was deserted, and their business plummeted. The Bai family panicked, and Bai Lingyin panicked too. She finally couldn't sit still and took the initiative to find Guaijin. Chapter 8. Public confrontation that day. Gu Huaijin barged right into my Jingshu pavilion. At that time, I was in a private room on the second floor, drinking tea with an important guest. This guest was none other than Crown Prince Xiao Jingyuan. Chu Qing, get out here. Gu Huaijin stood downstairs fuming, causing all the customers in the hall to look over. I slowly put down my teacup and gave Xiao Jingyuan an apologetic smile. My apologies for the scene, Your Highness. Xiao Jingyuan smiled too. It is nothing. This prince will go down with you to take a look. I walked downstairs, looked at the enraged Gu Huaijin, and asked, feigning ignorance, "Oh, isn't this General Gu? What wind blew you here? Are you here to give me business?" Cut the snide remarks. Gu Huaijin pointed at me. Why are you targeting Lingyin? She is so kind and wants nothing to do with worldly conflicts. Why must you make things difficult for her at every turn? I laughed so hard my body swayed. General, what you are saying is truly laughable. The marketplace is like a battlefield. Everyone relies on their own skills. My Jingxiu pavilion has new styles, customers are willing to come, and that is my ability. How is it that from your mouth it becomes me targeting Miss Bai? Is only her Bai family allowed to do business, and I, Chu Qing, am not? What kind of logic is that? The surrounding customers also chimed in one after another. That is right. What the general is saying is so unreasonable. Miss Chu's clothes are just so nice looking, we all love them. Gu Huaijin was rendered speechless, his handsome face flushing the color of a pig's liver. Just then, Xiao Jingyuan slowly walked out from behind me. His voice wasn't loud, but it carried an unquestionable authority. General Ge, this is the Jingshu Pavilion, not your general's manor. If you are here to buy things, we welcome you. If you are here to cause trouble, he paused, a cold glint flashing in his eyes. My personal guards are no pushovers. Gu Huaijin saw Xiao Jingyuan, his pupils constricting sharply. How could he be here? What is his relationship with Chu Qing? Countless questions swirled in his mind. In the end, he still resentfully flicked his sleeves and stormed away. The farce thus came to an end. I bowed slightly to Xiao Jingyuan. Thank you, Your Highness, for helping me out. It was a small effort. Xiao Jingyuan looked at me, a hint of a smile in his eyes. But I didn't expect that Miss Chu is not only beautiful, but also has such a talent for business. Your Highness overpraises me. It is just some small tricks to make a living, I said modestly. If these are small tricks, then 90% of the merchants in the capital could just close up shop. He changed the subject. I heard you've taken a fancy to that piece of wasteland in the capital's suburbs. My heart tightened. He really did know. His intelligence network is far more formidable than I imagined. Your Highness is well informed. I didn't deny it. There is a problem with that land. He looked at me steadily. The silver you invest, I am afraid, will be a total loss. I smiled. Then I'll just consider it money spent to hear a splash. But I actually think that place might bring me an unexpected surprise. Xiao Jingyuan gave me a deep look, didn't press the matter further, and just said, "If you need anything, you can come to me any time." I knew he was showing me goodwill and also testing me. I need his help, but I can't rely on him completely. I must make him see my value. Chapter 9, presenting a prescription to save the people very soon. My value was demonstrated. At the end of autumn, an urgent report came from the northern frontier, a great plague at the border, with countless dead and injured. The imperial court was shaken, and His Majesty urgently summoned the imperial physicians to discuss countermeasures, but they were all at a loss. It was a plague never seen before, extremely contagious, with a rapid onset, and a swift death. When I heard the news, a prescription immediately flashed in my mind. In my past life, after marrying into the general's manor, I studied many ancient medical texts to please Guaijin. I remember seeing a prescription for treating a similar plague in a damaged rare book. At the time, I just treated it as a strange anecdote and didn't pay it much mind. But now, it might save countless lives and also become my ladder to success. I worked through the night, writing down the prescription from memory. The next day, I didn't go through my father, but instead directly submitted a request for an audience with the crown prince. Xiao Jingyuan met me in the study. I handed him the prescription. "Your Highness, this is an ancient prescription that I came across by chance. It might be useful for the plague in the northern frontier." Xiao Jingyuan took the prescription, looked at it carefully, his brow slightly furrowed. "This prescription is too dangerous. Several of the ingredients are extremely potent. A slight mistake would turn it into a deadly poison." "Desperate times call for desperate measures," I said calmly. "The northern frontier is in crisis now, and the Imperial Academy of Medicine is helpless. It is better to take a risk and try. Besides, I have already marked the dosage and usage in detail. As long as it is followed strictly, it should be fine." Xiao Jingyuan fell silent. He looked at me, his eyes filled with a complicated expression. The legitimate daughter of an imperial censor, raised in the inner chambers. Where did she get such an unorthodox and dangerous prescription? And why is she so proficient in pharmacology? I met his gaze without the slightest bit of evasion. I know what he is suspicious about, but I can't say this rebirth thing is too incredible. "Please, Your Highness, believe me," I said earnestly. "If this prescription succeeds, it can save thousands of people from dire straits. If it fails, I will bear all the blame alone." Xiao Jingyuan stared at me for a long time, and finally made up his mind. "Okay, this prince will trust you this one time." He took the prescription and entered the palace overnight to have an audience with His Majesty. No one knew what he said to His Majesty. They only knew that the next day, the palace dispatched fast horses, carrying my prescription, and a large amount of medicinal herbs, rushing day and night towards the northern frontier. The days of waiting for news were agonizing. When my father found out about this, he almost beat me to death. "Chu Qing, you are really crazy. That is a plague, a capital offense punishable by beheading. If the prescription is ineffective, or even has the opposite effect, our entire censorate manor will be buried with you." He trembled with anger. I just looked at him coldly. "Father, do you only see the risk, but not the opportunity? If this prescription is effective, I will be the great hero who saved the hundreds of thousands of soldiers and civilians in the northern frontier. At that time, the weight of my name, Chu Qing, in His Majesty's heart, will probably be even greater than yours, the censor-in-chief." Father was stunned, and then a trace of horror flashed in his eyes. He had never thought that this always meek daughter of his actually possessed such ambition and courage. Chapter 2. A sudden bestowal of honors half a month later. Good news came from the northern frontier. The prescription was effective, and the epidemic was brought under control. The news reached the capital, and the entire nation rejoiced. I, Chu Qing, overnight, went from being a madwoman who defied an imperial edict to a female bodhisattva who saved countless lives. His Majesty was greatly pleased, publicly praised me in the imperial court, and issued an edict to ennoble me as Princess Anning, with a fief of 300 households, and bestowed upon me countless gold and silver. That day, I wore the princess's court attire sent from the palace, stood in the golden throne hall, and received the congratulations of all the officials. I saw my father's excited yet complicated gaze. I saw Gu Huaijin's shocked and resentful expression. I also saw Xiao Jingyuan standing at the head of all officials, his gaze filled with a gentle smile. I knew that from this moment on, my life was completely different. On my own, I have secured my footing. The change in status brought tremendous benefits. I was no longer that sheltered young lady who could be manipulated by anyone. As a titled princess, I could freely enter and leave the imperial palace and attend various important occasions. The barren land I bought, just as I expected. A hot spring was discovered. His Majesty was overjoyed and decided to build an imperial villa here. Overnight, the value of the barren land I bought increased more than 100-fold. Many people came to propose marriage. Watching those princes and nobles he used to have to look up to now coming with smiling faces to propose to his daughter, my father's heart was filled with mixed feelings. But I refused to see any of them. My mind wasn't on this. I was waiting for a chance to make Guijin and Bai Lingyin utterly doomed beyond redemption. Number Chapter 11. The pregnancy turmoil. This chance came very soon. Chu Yunsheng was pregnant. She came to show off in front of me, sticking out her belly, her face full of happiness and pride. Older sister, look, I am going to have my own child soon. The general said that when the child is born, he'll ask His Majesty to grant him the title of heir apparent. I looked at her, my heart completely calm, even feeling a bit of pity. Is that so? Then I must congratulate you, younger sister. I stroked her slightly swelling belly, and said, as if unintentionally, it is just that this child seems to have come a bit early. Chu Yunsheng's expression changed. Older sister, what do you mean by that? It means nothing. I withdrew my hand and picked up my teacup. I am just reminding you, younger sister, that the general's manor is not like other places, and the matter of heirs is especially important. You must take good care of your pregnancy and make sure nothing goes wrong. Chu Yunsheng left, half believing and half doubting. I knew that my words had pierced her heart like a thorn. She and Gu Huaijin had been married for less than 8 months. If this child were to be born full term, the dates wouldn't add up. It was either a premature birth, or she'd had relations before the marriage. Whichever it was not a good thing for her, or for the general's manor. And I knew, this child was not Gu Huaijin's at all. In my previous life, Chu Yunsheng had also been pregnant, but unfortunately had a miscarriage at 5 months. I later learned that it wasn't a miscarriage at all, but a play she deliberately put on to frame me, as she was having an affair with a guard in the manor. In this life, I will not give her the chance to act again. I will let this show go on. Number Chapter 12. Love letter exposed. I found the guard who was having an affair with Chu Yunsheng, gave him a large sum of silver, and had him take the love letters Chu Yunsheng wrote to him and run far, far away. Then I anonymously leaked this information to Bai Lingyin. With Bai Lingyin's personality, she would never pass up this chance to deal a fatal blow to Chu Yunsheng. She would definitely find a way to let Gu Huaijin know about this. I had calculated her every move, and I just watched coldly from the sidelines, waiting for the show to begin. At Gu Huaijin's birthday banquet, the real show began. Halfway through the banquet, Bai Lingyin suddenly fell down, accidentally, and a stack of letter paper fell out of her sleeve. The noble lady closest to her picked it up, and with just one glance cried out in surprise. Thursday, isn't this the general's wife's handwriting? This caused a huge stir, and all eyes turned to them. Chu Yunsheng's face instantly turned deathly pale, with a dark expression. Gu Huaijin snatched the letter paper from the noble lady's hand. The contents of the letter were too vile to look at, all of it explicit love words written by Chu Yunsheng to that guard, as well as proof that the two had secretly conceived a child. Number. Gu Huaijin roared, kicking Chu Yunsheng in the stomach. Chu Yunsheng let out a miserable scream and fell to the ground, and soon blood was flowing from under her body. The whole place was in an uproar. Bai Lingyin knelt on the ground, crying pitifully. General, it has nothing to do with me. I don't know how these letters got here. General, spare me. Gu Huaijin's eyes were bloodshot, looking at Chu Yunsheng groaning in pain on the ground, and then at the weeping Bai Lingyin. He was thrown into a complete frenzy. A family scandal. A huge family scandal. His Gu family's general manor had become the biggest joke in the entire capital. I sat among the guests, coldly watching this farce, and slowly savored a sip of the fine wine in my cup. So sweet. Number. Chapter 13. The family's downfall. Chu Yunsheng had a miscarriage. The baby was gone. She was also locked in the woodshed by Gu Huaijin, tortured day and night. The censorate manor completely lost face, and my father fell gravely ill from anger. And Gu Huaijin, for failing to manage his household strictly and being unable to control his subordinates, was reprimanded by His Majesty and fined half a year's salary. He began to seek me out frequently. Sometimes he would intercept me on my way back to the manor. Other times he would number into my courtyard late at night. He looked at me, his eyes filled with regret and pain. "Chu Qing, I was wrong," he said hoarsely. "I was really wrong. It turns out you were right all along. Chu Yunsheng is a venomous woman. Only you are the one who is truly good to me." I looked at his deeply affectionate display and only felt disgusted. "You must be joking, General." I took a step back, keeping my distance from him. "What you should be doing right now is properly comforting your new favorite, Miss Bai. After all, she is the great hero who helped you expose Chu Yunsheng." At the mention of Bai Lingyin, a trace of disgust flashed across Gu Huaijin's face. "Don't mention her to me," he said irritably. "If it weren't for her, how would I have fallen to this point?" He thought Bai Lingyin was an innocent white lotus, but he never expected this white lotus to be more vicious-hearted than anyone. She not only schemed against Chu Yunsheng, she even plotted against him. Now his reputation is in tatters, while Bai Lingyin, by virtue of her meritorious act of exposing him, is showing signs of being made the official wife. He regretted it. He started to miss the gentle and obedient Chu Qing from when I was still by his side, the one who regarded him as a god. He wants me to go back. "Chu Qing, let's start over." "Okay." He took a step forward, wanting to grab my hand. "I know you still have feelings for me. You refused the marriage. You opened a shop. You did all these things, all just to get my attention, right?" I looked at his smug expression and finally couldn't help but laugh out loud. "Gu Huaijin, you think way too highly of yourself." I stopped smiling, my gaze as cold as a knife. "I did all this. It was indeed for you, but not to get your attention, I leaned close to his ear, and in a voice only the two of us could hear, I said word by word, to ruin your reputation and leave you with nothing." His body suddenly stiffened, and he looked at me in disbelief. I straightened up, adjusted my sleeves, and smiled nonchalantly. "Oh, right. I forgot to tell you. It was me who helped you expose Chu Yunsheng's affair, and it was also me who let Bai Lingyin get those letters." You, he pointed at me, his lips trembling. "My, what?" I tilted my head, my smile growing even brighter. "I'll tell you something else, Gu Huaijin. In my past life, when I was bleeding to death from a difficult childbirth, helpless and alone, where were you? You were with your Bai Lingyin. When I died, it was His Highness the Crown Prince who held me and cried all his tears for me. Gu Huaijin, between you and me lies a life, my own life and the life of my unborn child. You tell me, how are we supposed to start over?" Every word I said was like a sharp blade. Viciously number. His heart. His face turned deathly pale, and he staggered backward. His eyes filled with terror as he looked at me. He finally understood that the Chu Qing before him was no longer the woman he could mold and shape at will. What she wanted was his life. Chapter 4. Frenzied suppression. Gu Huaijin completely panicked. He started frantically sending me things: gold, silver, and jewels, fine silks and satins, everything he thought I would like, sent to my residence like a flowing stream. I had people register and catalog all the items, and then return them untouched. He didn't give up and started writing me letters again, which were full of regret and love. I used all those letters as waste paper to start fires. Everything he did, in my eyes, was just a ridiculous joke. I was busy being lovey-dovey with Xiao Jingyuan, and had no time to bother with him. My indifference and disregard completely enraged Gu Huaijin. What he couldn't get, he had to destroy. He began to secretly suppress my businesses at all costs. The fabric supply for my Jingshu pavilion was cut off. My restaurant was frequently harassed by local thugs and ruffians. And the farmlands under my name were also maliciously set on fire. I knew Gu Huaijin was behind all of this. He wanted to use this method to force me to submit. Too bad for him. He had miscalculated. He thought I had no one backing me. but he didn't know that standing behind me was Crown Prince Xiao Jingyuan. All the channels that were cut off, Xiao Jingyuan helped me reconnect with even greater speed and better resources. All the local thugs and ruffians who came to cause trouble had their legs broken by the Crown Prince's personal guards and were thrown into the main prison. Every move Guijin made was like a fist hitting cotton. Not only did it not hurt me one bit, but on the contrary, it made him suffer heavy losses himself. He finally realized that without military power, without His Majesty's former favor, he, this general, couldn't withstand a single blow before the overwhelmingly powerful Crown Prince. He completely despaired. Chapter 15. The assassination backfires later. He and Bai Lingyin planned an assassination together. They hired assassins from the Zhonggu, intending to ambush and kill me on my way to the palace banquet. Unfortunately, their plan had long been seen through by Xiao Jingyuan's spies. That night, I was still riding in my carriage to the imperial palace, and around my carriage, an inescapable net had already been laid. When those assassins in black rushed out, what greeted them were the elite personal guards from the Crown Prince's mansion, who had already been lying in ambush. A one-sided slaughter, the assassins were wiped out in one go, and from the mouth of the lead assassin, the mastermind was interrogated out to be Gu Huaijin and Bai Lingyin. The witness testimony and physical evidence were all complete. Plotting to murder a commandery princess personally involved by the imperial family is equivalent to treason. This time no one can save them. Chapter 16. Imperial Trial. The final trial took place in the Jinluan Hall. I stood below the throne, looking at the ashen-faced Gu Huaijin and Bai Lingyin kneeling on the ground. They looked haggard and withered, having long lost their former radiance. Gu Huaijin, do you know your crimes? His Majesty sat high on the dragon throne, his voice full of disappointment and anger. Gu Huaijin raised his head, not looking at His Majesty, but staring fixedly at me. In his eyes, there was hatred, regret, unwillingness, and also a sliver of pleading. "Chu Qing!" he began hoarsely. "For the sake of our past relationship, shut up." I interrupted him coldly. "General, all ties between us have long been severed. If we're talking about feelings, there is only a blood feud." My words made the last trace of color drain from his face. He collapsed limply to the ground, like a stray dog. The final verdict was delivered. Guijin, principal offender in the rebellion, is demoted to a commoner, exiled 3,000 li, and forbidden from ever returning to the capital. Bai Lingyin, accomplice, to be caned to death. The Bai family, being implicated, will have their assets confiscated, and the entire clan will be exiled. That once infinitely glorious residence of General Gu vanished overnight like smoke. Chapter 17. The dust settles. The dust has settled. I walked out of the Golden Throne Hall. The sunlight outside was perfect. Xiao Jingyuan was waiting for me at the bottom of the white jade steps outside the hall, dressed in a purple gold python robe, his figure distinguished. He smiled when he saw me and held out his hand. I walked down the steps one by one, placing my hand into his warm palm. He held it tightly, our fingers intertwined. "It is all over," he said. "Yeah, it is all over." I looked at him, my eyes growing a little moist. It is also a new beginning. In my past life, he held my cold corpse, devastated with grief. In this life, he holds my hand, promising me a lifetime of peace and stability. 3 months later, His Majesty issued a decree, betroth Princess Anning, Chu Qing, to the Crown Prince, Xiao Jingyuan. The wedding shall be held on a chosen day. On the day of the grand wedding, the red dowry procession stretched for 10 li through the gap in my bridal veil. I looked at the man riding on a tall horse who had come to receive me. He was still that handsome. It is just that the coldness of the past was no longer in his eyes and brows, replaced by a gentle smile that couldn't be melted away. I knew, this time I didn't make the wrong choice. Chapter 8. A love affair of 2 lifetimes in the bridal chamber. On the wedding night, the red candles burned high. He lifted my bridal veil for me, looked into my eyes, and said seriously, "Chu Qing, I've waited for you for 2 lifetimes." I was stunned. He caressed my face. His eyes filled with heartache and adoration. "In the last life, I failed to protect you, letting you suffer so much. In this life, Let me be the one to protect you. Okay. So he has his memories too. I couldn't hold it in anymore and threw myself into his arms, tears pouring down like rain. All the grievances, all the hatred, melted into scalding hot tears at that moment. He held me tightly, kissing away my tears again and again. Don't be afraid, you have me from now on, Chu Ching. I love you. The moonlight outside the window is like water, and time is peaceful and beautiful. I know, I have finally found my true home. Number epilogue. As for Gu Huaijin, I later heard that he couldn't bear the hardship on the road to exile and died of illness. When he died, there was no one by his side. And His Highness and I, hand in hand and side by side, saw all the splendors of this world. 2 years later, Xiao Jingyuan ascended the throne as emperor, and I was made empress. We had 2 sons and 1 daughter, all of whom were exceptionally intelligent. The imperial court was just and upright, and the people lived in peace and prosperity. All the regrets from my past life were made whole in this life. I often stand on the palace walls watching the sunset, and remember my desperate self in the delivery room of my past life. If I could say one thing to her, I would say, don't be afraid. In this life, you will get everything you want. End of full text.